But you have to understand that in Germany, the big dream for a lot of players, doesn't matter where they play, is to play for the mighty Bayern. And they have earned their right to do that because they've had over the years, starting with the Beckenbauer, Müller, Hoeneß, Sepp Maier era, they had the best players in the world then.
Hi and welcome to the Fussball Channel. I'm your host Markus Fjørtoft, and I was always joined by co-host Jan Fjørtoft for this special episode on Florian Wirtz and Musiala, that we'd actually had this planned for a while. Believe us when we say so. But then it seems during the international break, there has just been this extra add-on of Wirtz and Musiala, and you can't really say one player without the other. And our good podcast friend Christian Falk with the great podcast Bayern Insider did a special a couple of days ago as well. But I guess
which was good for us. Which was
yes,
good
very
for us.
good, and a fantastic episode for those that understand German. So I would highly recommend that, and obviously there will be some overlap as such, but also getting your opinion as an insider, but also an outsider in a way. And yeah, I guess we could just crack on about the Wirtz Musiala saga, because I think it's every Bayern fan's wet dream to have them play together. We've seen it in the Germany games, how they do play together. We are obviously huge fans of the two players as well. I just want to start by dispelling, perhaps, whether you're familiar or not as a someone who follows the German football very closely, or if it's revelatory for you in a sense, but two kind of opinions or popular opinions I want to overturn is, and I want you to follow through on them and answer them. But one is that Bayern are late into this and just want the best player in the world, and so be it. And two, but Bayern steal all the best players in the Bundesliga. And the stage is yours as such, because it's obviously not that simple.
It's not simple at all, because yes, there was a time, and I guess they would love to have that time again, where they kind of weakened their opposition in Germany. That being the Werder Bremen great team, they took that away with, I remember, Frings or Andy Herzog, and they took them players from there. Had the same thing about Dortmund, but it's more ausgeglichen, meaning it's more equal now. They can't do that. In terms of Florian Wirtz, they've been after him since he was 12 or 13, so they've always been there. And then he was at Köln. And remember, and we talked about this before maybe, but there wasn't a kind of agreement between Köln and Leverkusen that they shouldn't grab each other's best players at youth level. And Leverkusen broke that promise. There are probably two sides to everything, but still, he went from Köln to Bayer Leverkusen. He didn't go to Bayern, although Bayern was very close at getting him. He got a great family. He's advised by his dad, and there is a lot of things going on. But I think that Leverkusen now try to do that. But just as you say, Marcus, it's good to start with that, because it's not like this that they used to do that with Manuel Neuer going from Schalke going to Bayern. Why? Because that doesn't happen in other teams. That doesn't happen that Manchester United talent will go to Liverpool. It won't happen. So sometimes it's hard for the English football fans or the English followers to understand that thing in Germany. But you have to understand that in Germany, the big dream for a lot of players, doesn't matter where they play, is to play for the mighty Bayern. And they have earned their right to do that because they've had over the years, starting with the Beckenbauer, Müller, Hoeneß, Sepp Maier era, they had the best players in the world there. So, but it's not, Marcus, and I think that is important to say. So now Leverkusen's Florian Wirtz, he will be attracted interest for a lot of clubs in the world, but obviously Bayern, as they've been on his toes more or less all the time, and then the highlight from Leverkusen is then to win the Bundesliga with Florian Wirtz together with Xhaka, maybe the two best players in the team. But now, next summer, you have a feeling, because as you were saying, Marcus, when I said who's the most exciting players in the Bundesliga, I say Musiala, Wirtz. I can't kind of take them apart. In the German national team, you can't take them apart. And you said it's a dream of every Bayern player to Bayern fans to see them together. I guess it was someone said as a joke, well, why couldn't Leverkusen buy Musiala? But the reason we are talking first about Florian Wirtz is most likely that he will leave his club. Musiala is most likely, as for now, although there is a lot of speculations on him when and how long he will extend his contract. But I think we all agree that there is a big chance after this season, after this first season, after the Bundesliga win, that Florian Wirtz will leave Leverkusen next summer.
Yeah, it's hard to see how someone like Florian Wirtz could stay with the risk and an increasing likelihood of Xabi Alonso leaving as well. And then it invites the question as to, well, who else is in the running for him? As you said, Bayern, credit to them, have been resolute. They have been determined of getting Florian Wirtz since 2013 and chased and had meetings with the family. You mentioned a family there that are sensible, that are good advisors as such, and Uli Hoeneß being of some inspiration to Hans-Joachim Wirtz and what have you. So Bayern have really laid the groundwork. We're determined to get him, even when he tore his ACL back in 2022, as we remember as well. They will, I guess, have that benefit of having been there from the very start. But then you have clubs like Manchester City, like Real Madrid, and it does factor into the Musiala discussion, if we're going to have a little fun with the rumor mill as such, in terms of where they would fit in potentially and why would they would be after him.
Yeah, and there is another factor that come up the last 24 hours or 48 hours, is that Pep Guardiola is extended his contract by Manchester City. There's a lot of people talking about these 115 charges. The fact is that 150 charges, maybe Manchester City will be guilty. Maybe they will have a kind of punishment as such, but this will take years. And I think there's a signal that Pep Guardiola staying now. There is an attraction for Manchester City. Kevin De Bruyne, his contract is up in the summer. Gundogan is getting of age. So maybe one of the motivations of a Pep Guardiola, it didn't surprise us, Markus. I've said that on a podcast. I think that he would extend his contract. I think that one of the things is that he can build up a new team. And not only Florian Wirtz has been linked, as you were saying, also Musiala, with his English background, you can see him coming back to England at some stage. Then you have Real Madrid, who kind of now buying or building together a kind of young Galacticos. The Galacticos back in the days was Zinedine Zidane, it was David Beckham, it was Ramos, it was Roberto Carlos. They had a fantastic football team at that time. And now when you saw the team that won the Champions League last season, you see that they have some of the biggest talents in the world. They're talking about Davies from Bayern Munich. They're talking about Florian Wirtz. They're talking about Musiala and so on.
Add on to the players they already have, obviously.
Yeah, exactly. And you see now Vinicius Junior and Mbappe, they have to find each other, but somehow they will do that. I mean, if 1 + 1 is 2, it's not always the case, Marcus. Alonso go to Real Madrid and he gets Florian Wirtz, take him with him. The funny thing is that I think Leverkusen will accept that. I think if I'm honest, I think that Bayern has done a great job. They made their groundwork on this player. It's not that like they are like after him now, as we try to say now. They've been after him for years. The thing is, since they talked with him last time, he has won the Bundesliga. He has established his one as one of the greatest talents of the German Bundesliga as Leverkusen player. So does he feel now it's time to make the next step? Will that next step be go straight to Real Madrid? Somehow you feel when you go to Real Madrid, and we said that before, Marcus, Jude Bellingham did it. Erling Haaland didn't. He went to Manchester City. You just have to have the feeling when you go to Real Madrid, it's end station. What do you do after Real Madrid? Is one of those feelings. So I do understand that Bayern will be the favorite, and I think they will have a parallel kind of processes going now, because they also want to extend the contract of Musiala. And Musiala is not the same type of player. He's not the same type of personality as a Thomas Müller. And the reason I put Thomas Müller forward is that they have kind of built their club, their mentality, their attitude, their identity around Thomas Müller. Maybe he's into his last season, doesn't matter. He will not be the key player for them into the over the years now. But if you tie up, so to say, a Musiala, he will be an attraction on and off the pitch. Both Wirtz and Musiala seems like the nicest people. Musiala, he's that careful, kind of shy, nearly kind of attitude. When he's playing, he's one of those players you will love to see. And I think that of the new Bayern, he is the key factor here. And if they can kind of mix up the two of them, Musiala and Wirtz, like the German national team now, they are the poster boys. These are the two players who's going to be the key factors in German football. And I guess there's a lot of hope then for the German fans, the neutrals that been, to see them both at the same club.
And then you can't underestimate the impact it would have for Bayern having two German players that happen to be...
As they did, Markus, with Schweinsteiger, with Lahm, with Müller.
Because that's part of the club's heritage, right? In terms of,
it is.
Right?
It is. They're all, yes, they've had some great foreigners over the years. They had a Lewandowski who scored goals for fun. They had a Koeman, who still got Koeman, who scored a winner in the Champions League.
Ribéry, etc.
Yeah, it's a lot of players. Giovanni Elber, they have it good. But the backbone of Bayern Munich have always been the German players. Sometimes the Munich Bayern kind of players like Müller and Schweinsteiger and all those. But they have that. It seems that they've changed a lot of the progress or process now on Joshua Kimmich. They want to have the backbone of the club being German. And I like that. I like that you have, in the old days, you used to talk about local lads. Now the local is more like the national lads, so to say. And that is, it's as you were saying, it's a part of the Bayern heritage going back to the 70s into the 80s when they had a great team. They had a Lothar Matthäus. He's not from Bayern, but still he came from Borussia Mönchengladbach, came in and was a key player, as was Karl-Heinz Rummenigge, who kind of was a profile to build the new Bayern. So this fits the bill. I like that. I like what Bayern is doing at the moment. It's a brilliant idea to get these two together.
But it's rather remarkable set in the context of how we would discuss Bayern, say, a few months ago, 6 months ago, a year, 2 years ago. Would the likelihood of Wirtz and would the same tone of would our tone of discussion be the same then as it is now? And obviously Bayern are one of the biggest clubs in the world. Their ambition is always Bundesliga minimum, fight for the Champions League. Signing someone like that would be a massive statement and of great contribution to that goal. But it's interesting the tone of how we relate Wirtz to Bayern now, despite them having followed him since way back.
I think that, Markus, what we are saying is that if we saw some months back, if we saw the German national team a year ago, they were boring to watch. They didn't have so many exciting players. So all this kind of fits into everything. Then a Nagelsmann will give them a key role. Then they develop into that. And so it's not only that Bayern, you can't say they have stopped stealing players from the other teams in Germany, but you can also say, if you're a devil's advocate for the other teams, who should they pick? Because they were foreigners as well, the key players at different clubs. But then suddenly you see Stuttgart, they have 5 or 6 national team players. Players, we know them, but it's not like if you ask a German England fan, tell us who is playing the German national team, you won't say. But they now decided that they will go for Wirtz, and they have to tie up Musiala, and that is the main thing now for Bayern. I think that Joshua Kimmich will sign a new contract. His dream will be to be a captain for Bayern as well. That was the plan all the time. Didn't work out. Then he was in critics, and now he's back. He's back there. He got Julian Nagelsmann. He's the captain of the German national team. Manuel Neuer maybe he'll do one more year, but the future captain will be Joshua Kimmich. And then if you get Florian Wirtz and Musiala still there,
maybe extend Leroy Sané's contract as well.
Exactly. Very underestimated player, because sometimes his body language makes him a bit harm. Lover of football like us, Markus, who like to see the positive. Leroy Sané is a fantastic football player. He's one of the best around. But you see how things change as we speak now, going into a weekend where they play Augsburg. Paulinho comes back with an injury. Paulinho was on the bench, then he got his chance, and now, ladies and gentlemen, Goretzka is back. He's back in the warmth now, to say. So it changes all the time, but you need a backbone, and I like that. I like what I see from Bayern at the moment. But now going into a quite interesting week, they're playing Augsburg at home, then they're playing PSG, and then they are playing Dortmund. So that is how things change.
Leverkusen in the cup as well.
Leverkusen Cup as well. So it's a lot of things going on, but there's excitement around Leverkusen. Now, sorry about Bayern Munich at the moment, but I think for a company, we talked about it before, he has to win the big ones. He has to beat PSG. He has to beat Dortmund. And we know how it's like when Bayern come, that there's kind of extra energy around them, but the opposition. But it's exciting times for the Bayern fans. Having said that, I think that Bayern hoped they could give the Bayern fans a Christmas present to say that Musiala has extended his contract. But we heard in the interviews when he was away with Germany, it seemed that it takes some more time before he's doing the right thing. I don't think, I mean, our friend Falk and Toby Alscheffer, they are always talking about, he will have demands, who he's going to play with. I think this is more to do, they're probably right, but we know that Bayern will be competitive. They will do their best to be competitive. But I think it's now for Musiala to see, where do I see myself? Where is my mate going? Okay, my Florian Wirtz, my mate, he's going to Real Madrid. Should I stay in Bayern or should I go to Manchester City? Oh, he's earning 5 times my wages. Should I go somewhere else? Small things like that, Marcus. Small things with the people you have to advise you around. But it seems that both Musiala and Wirtz have good people around them. So it's all about strategic kind of things. And they are in an age now that this is not their last contract. It's not now or never. Whatever they do, if Wirtz go to Bayern, he will have a fantastic development. Would he survive at Real Madrid? Yes, he would, because he can come into the cross kind of German kind of thing there. Would he survive at Manchester City? He will be a super hit at Manchester City, 100% with Pep Guardiola. So it's not like they can't do anything wrong, in my opinion. It's all about the feeling for what's the right thing right now.
Obviously, this won't come cheap either, Dad. Musiala is currently on 8 to 9 million euros a year. Reports suggest it might go up to 25, which would make him best earner. With Wirtz, there's talk about, Caro, the Leverkusen CEO, I said, well, we should have 140. And Bayern have kind of said, we want to pay 100. And then reports suggest that more realistic, it will be somewhere in the range of 120 million euros. First of all, should Bayern spend 120 million euros on Florian Wirtz?
They should. If they were told that, it's the same when you buy an apartment, someone will say, if you pay amount X, you get it. It's up to you. And then it's sometimes a good idea to do that, because then you don't have a bidding war. The problem maybe is for the English teams, depending on the different rules, the financial rules, if they can spend so much money. I think Manchester City are okay. They've sold some of the young players, so they're building up a kind of bank doing that. But to your question, yes, Bayern should do that. But it depends that they get a lot of players on, because a Gnabry, a Coman, and Goretzka, they will earn a lot of money. And this is a luxury kind of thing if you have big earners on the bench. So Goretzka, there was a game he wasn't even in the squad, if I'm not 100% wrong. So you have to do something about that as well. So that is big decisions to be made, because it's not a secret that Bayern will be behind some of the competitors in the bidding war, if it comes to a bidding war, behind Real Madrid and behind Manchester City. Our friends, Christian, said that Arsenal could be in the running as well. Maybe so, but I can't see him going to Arsenal. Because I think that if he leaves Germany, he will go for the big ones. No disrespect to Arsenal.
No, that's not taken, even though that would be a big dream of ours to get him. And I think, towards the end here, I think we are rather in unison in our appreciation for them. I genuinely think that both of them could win a Ballon d'Or. They are an extremely talented couple of players, and I know we group them together, but the way in which they both are able to glide with the ball and make the game look so simple, I think for us, and being able to watch them as close as we do, they are worth every penny. It'll be interesting to see the price dynamics, the players' outgoings. As you said, someone got like Goretzka, who will be on much. He has a contract to 2026. You have to get him out, and a Coman, and a Gnabry, and start the rebuild. But with a potential German core to be part of that Bayern rebuild, that will be Bayern's goal. Of course, for Bundesliga fans, they would like to see Wirtz go abroad. For Premier League fans, they would make themselves more familiar with someone like Wirtz or Musiala and see how incredible good players they are. As I wrap up that, any ending or parting words that you want to...
Well, I think that not only, I mean, you described them well as players and the star quality, but it's also that they are good lads. You can see that. I haven't met them. I haven't interviewed any of them, but I've seen them, of course, live. I've seen all their interviews. I follow them. They're great attitude. They have a good people around them. And the good thing for me, Mark, is that we both see a lot of football games. We like to see players who we just want to see. You want to see them. It's the same when you see Chelsea. When I see Chelsea, I end up just sitting watching Cole Palmer, who is out there just having a garden party. He could be without no shoes on. He could just be in a barbecue and having a go with his mates. And that's what you see when you see Musiala and Wirtz as well. They just love their football. And I think that is a fantastic thing. And I would say to all our English listeners who follow English football as well, try to catch some games when you see Musiala and Wirtz playing. They are fantastic. And I'm very jealous of the players who play around them, because it's a dream come true also for strikers to have players like that around them. So, Marcus. And my ending were, why do I sit with a hat today? I just come from training, Marcus. I did some rowing. So, I had to do that. It's good. Yeah, it's good that you're sitting there in your a good cardigan.
Yeah.
Cardigan, yeah.
Yeah, we're slightly different stylistically today.
We are always, as your mother saying, my wife is saying, we are always different with our clothing. And she says, why can't you be a bit more like Marcus? Fair enough. But then again, we managed to do it on a Friday night, and we look forward to the weekend. We look forward to the next weeks coming up, because there's a lot of decisions to be made. Because as we're getting closer to January, as we're getting closer to a thing, in Germany, they used to do this early. So maybe not Musiala before Christmas, before Wirtz, you just get a feeling that something will happen soon. And Bayern fans would love to see them together. And that I understand. Bayern is one of the biggest brand all over, biggest brand in a German brand in the world. And with two superstars like them, that brand will be even stronger.
And with that, Dad, appreciate very much. Get into the shower, clean up, and we'll chat very soon. Auf Wiedersehen.
Auf Wiedersehen.